Well, the city is trying to lure grocery stores into certain neighborhoods. They're doing it to eliminate so-called food deserts. In some neighborhoods, people have to rely more on corner stores, which generally have less of a selection and no fresh produce. The city is negotiating with some large independent stores to move into underserved areas. One sticking point, though, the stores want to be able to sell beer and wine, and it's hard to find property far enough away from schools and churches. So the city is considering relaxing some of those sales restrictions near churches and schools. But does that send the wrong message? That's what we're talking about this half hour. And we also want to hear from you, so you can share your thoughts on Facebook and on Twitter. In our newsroom right now is Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico, news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, public policy analyst Jackie Bally, and our special guest radio host Chris Baker. Good morning again, you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Chris Tritico, legally, can you do that? Can you just say, oh, we don't care if it's too close to a school and church. We'll sell beer and alcohol there anyway.
Well, the city can, because it's their ordinance that blocks you from having a service place in front, within 1,000 feet of a church or a school. And so they can change that ordinance if they decide to. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all if they change the law. The question is that the right policy? The reason for this is to keep children away from, or keep alcohol away from children to be easily purchased by them. And so is that the right policy, and is it time to look at those laws and change those laws? And so I want to welcome back Chris Baker back to the show. He left us for Omaha. He was one of our first panel members. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank
good
you
to
very
have
much.
You. He's only here for the day. He's in town for the weekend and said he wanted to come by and visit us. We're glad to have you back, Chris.
Well, thank you. Thank you there, Chris Tritico.
Jackie, let's start with you. Is this a good policy change? We got these places that are underserved by food stores in the city of Houston because they can't sell alcohol, which is the biggest revenue maker for any food store. And so they're saying, look, you want us to move into these areas? We have to be able to sell alcohol.
There's a reason why we have these ordinances and these laws in place in the first place. For instance, there is a certain distance from schools because you don't want children or younger adults to have access or free access or easy access to alcohol. And also there are many studies that show if you have alcohol or a lot of venues that sell alcohol in certain neighborhoods that the residents are impoverished or there's blight, there is a higher number of incidents that are involved with violence. So there are many reasons why these laws are in place in the first place. And a lot of the grocers are saying, yes, if certain things were made different, we could move into these neighborhoods, but a lot of the grocers don't want to move into the neighborhoods for other reasons. And this is just one reason that we're hearing now. That's why they want to change the ordinance. But giving access to certain communities and certain people more access to alcohol is not a good thing.
Mustafa Tamiz, is it time that we reevaluate these laws? We've had those on the books for 40, 50 years now. Is it time to reevaluate these to help these areas that aren't getting serviced by the big stores?
Well, let's look at the issue. One, obesity is the #1 issue that's facing our from a health crisis standpoint. One of the big factors is that people that live in urban areas sometimes don't have access to grocery stores and healthy foods. And so how do you do that? Well, Stephen Costello, a council member who's been very thoughtful on a number of issues, figure out a way, because what he's saying is that they won't allow liquor stores to open, but large stores like H-E-B, Kroger's and others, that part of their business model is to be able to sell alcohol. And this does not put young people at risk at all, because if you're a young person, you can't buy a 6-pack of beer and walk into the supermarket checkout counter without having an ID. So it really, the protection is there, and these are the kinds of stores, and the ordinance is very thoughtful. And I think Councilman Costello has done a great job with this, as well as he's done with the payday lending ordinance that he did, and then Rebuild Houston. So he's leaving a mark on the city.
Chris Baker, it's not like in these areas they're not selling alcohol. All the gas stations, all the small stores already have alcohol. They're selling those. And so to bring these big stores in, to bring the food in, where people have the ability, as Mustafa says, to get the healthy foods, is that a good thing, or should we leave the ordinance the way it is?
Well, I think that, obviously a business is going to open up where it can make money. So if you're going to change the ordinance and allow these big grocery stores to sell liquor, if that's what's going to get them in there, and the city council believes that this is what they have to do, okay, fine, let them run it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then change it back. But the most important thing to me here is are you trying to get the people to eat healthy, or are you trying to get them more booze? And if booze is the motivator, it doesn't sound to me as if it's going to accomplish the mission, which is to be able to let people be able to have easy access to good food, healthy food, and remain healthy.
All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. I want to talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to go to Donnelly right now. She's monitoring our social media accounts.
Yeah, Roberta Lee on Facebook says adding the availability of more alcohol can add more crime, and she says we don't need that. She also says she hopes the city does not relax the ordinance, but she hopes supermarkets do locate into more underserved areas. So, Chris Tritico, will the city listen to what the residents want?
You know, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be what is in the best interest of this community. And we want these communities to grow. And if they're going to grow, we have to bring businesses into these communities. And at the end, and when you look at how a grocery store makes money, these big stores, they make more money off of the sale of alcohol than they do off the sale of bananas. And they're not going to move in if they can't make the money at the end of the day. And so if the city wants to keep building these communities and keep them growing and bring new residents in, they're going to have to be able to get the grocery stores in. To do that, they've got to modify this ordinance so that the stores can make money. If they're not profitable, they're not going to move in, as Jackie said.
I got an idea. The city loves to hire consultants. Maybe they should bring in Sally Struthers. She's very good at getting food to blighted areas.
For $1 a day.
There you go, $1 a day.
At the end of the day, if you're going to have healthy habits, healthy eating habits, moving a grocery store is not going to change that habit. Either a family knows to eat healthy or they don't. And again, you're going to give certain people access to more alcohol. Mustafa said earlier that, it's not that certain kids can use IDs, but again, everybody has fake IDs, as we know. And kids love to get fake.
I did, but I don't anymore.
See, exactly.
No, look, it's not a matter of fake ID, not fake. You're putting a grocery store, not putting a liquor store there. You're putting a grocery store. People don't have access to these stores. That's the whole problem. Not everybody has a car. If you can't drive to a place where you have healthy, groceries, fruits and vegetables, and the only place you can walk to is a corner store, then that's a challenge.
And we're almost out of time. But I want to talk about the economic advantage that this does for these areas.
Cost is important. It's much cheaper to eat crummy food. It's much more expensive to try to eat more healthy food. So your cost problem is still going to be there.
But it's an access problem too.
We're going to have to leave it right there. We're out of time for this segment. I wish we had some more time. That's a good topic that we can address later. Dominic, we'll be back in a little bit with another really, really good topic.
Well, I am looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
All right.